Good morning, this is Keith All and welcome back. Today we're going to learn about how does Excel plot your data to form a column chart. So in today's tutorial we're going to learn about the following. First we're going to learn about the explanation of a column chart. Then we're going to discuss three key points. One is automatic plotting by Excel, the number of columns that are added from your data set, and how does Excel determine the column order. So let's first go over to explanation of a column chart. So if you look over here to the right, I have a simple column chart based upon this data set here. And I just have the first column, sales by product category, and the total sales by product category. So what is a column chart? Now, a column chart in Excel is a graphical representation where data points are displayed as vertical bars. So in other words, as you can see over here, the data points are displayed as vertical bars, as you can see here, or columns. It's one of the most common ways to visualize your data, making it easy to compare values across different categories. So column charts work best with this type of data. Categorical data is one of them, meaning comparisons between distinct categories, like product sales in this case, I'm doing it here, or monthly expenses, like January through December, and different departments. So if you have different departments and you want to track like sales by each department, that would be also a good fit. Also a good fit for column charts are your time series data. In other words, data points distributed over a period of time, like monthly revenue or yearly population growth. And another way is ordinal data, which is categories with a meaningful order, meaning customer satisfaction ratings that may have a scale from 1 to 5. Now, a column chart, this type of chart allows you to easily spot your trends, patterns, and outliers within your data. Okay, now let's go over what automatic plotting is. Now, we're going to use the same data set, same column chart. So automatic plotting means that Excel quickly generates a chart by making default assumptions about your data. In other words, when you go to highlight your data, in this case, and then go up to Insert, and then you select your column chart, like in this case, like that. So Excel makes an assumption. In other words, it uses its own intelligence to determine how it should plot your data. So the x-axis, category axis, meaning x-axis is on the bottom, meaning horizontal is what is displayed here. And it's typically takes that from your first column. So in other words, this is the first column here in our data set. Our y-axis is our vertical data here, and it's usually the second column. And in this case, we only have two columns, and our second column is total sales, so it'll plot that data vertically here. Okay. Now, determining axis in Excel, when you select a two-column data set, in our case here, and insert a column chart in Excel, it uses the first column, again, as your x-axis or your category data, okay, which is the horizontal bar going down here. And your second column, in this case, as your y-axis or your values. So that's what is meant by automatic plotting. Now let's determine, okay, now how does Excel determine the number of columns added? Now, in this case, we're using different data set. We have 3 columns now instead of the normal 2. So Excel determines the number of columns or bars, okay, in your chart based on the number of unique entries in your data set's x-axis or categories. Okay, in this case, we have 3 different categories in our first column here. And as you can see here, we have 3 different sets of data here for January, February, March. Now, each unique category will get its own column or bar. Now, you're probably looking at this. Why do we have 2 bars for January? Well, let's continue on with the explanation, and you'll see clearly why that is. So understanding now the series in your column charts. Series now refers to the set of related data points, which is this area here, these 2 columns here, plotted on a chart. If you have multiple columns in our case, which we do here, each additional column after the first column or the x-axis data is considered a separate series. So in other words, sales is a separate series, and so is expenses. It's a separate series. Now categories here, let's go back to here. Categories is the x-axis here, which is the month, January, February, March. And the series data points is going to be, in our case, 2 series points, which is sales and expenses. Now, each series is plotted as its own set of columns, as you can see. If I highlight this series sales point, this refers to the sales series, and the second column for January is going to be our expenses data. So each series is plotted as its own sales set of columns, allowing you to compare data across categories. So in other words, we want to, in this chart, we want to compare our sales and expenses for January, and we're going to do the same thing for February and March. So as you can see, we have January, and then we have 2 different separate data points, sales and expenses for January, and the same thing for February and March. Okay, now let's go on to column order. Let's scroll up here. Now, how does Excel know what order to plot each category or series on your column chart? Well, Excel uses the order of your data. In other words, this is the order. This is what I have set up. I have January, February, March, and then over to the right, I have this separate series, sales and expenses. So it looks at this particular order in your data to determine the order of categories and series in your column chart. So category x-axis order. So by default, this is what Excel does. It takes categories are plotted in the order they appear in your data set from top to bottom. So in other words, this is a column chart. If I highlight this whole area and insert a column chart, this is what we get over here to the right. So Excel takes the first column, assumes this are the categories or x-axis, so it takes January 1st, then February, then March, because this is the order from top to bottom. Okay, another way that Excel can do this is by sorting your data. You can manually sort your data in a worksheet to change the order of categories in the chart. So let's do that. A simple way to get to sort this data is by using a shortcut key. You highlight a certain cell in your data set. Control-Shift-L will turn on these filters above here in your column headers. So if I want January to be in a different order than what we have over here, let's sort this by A through Z. So as you can see, now the order of data in your chart is different because Excel is going to take these categories here in this order from top to bottom. February goes in the first slot, then January, then March. So that's how you could change the sorting. So let's Control Z out of that, and let's get back to the original order. And now custom order. Now a custom order is, let's say this is the order of our data set here. Now we could also change the order in a different way by, you can reorder your categories directly in the chart by adjusting the x-axis settings. So let's do that. So what we want to do is we want to select the horizontal category axis here. Okay, Control 1 to bring up the format axis dialog box, and as you can see under axis options, go down to the bottom and you'll see this option, categories in reverse order. So if I tick this or check this off, what happens to our data in a chart? So as you can see, now it takes the order differently. It goes from bottom to top. So bottom, March, is now the first set of columns, then February, then January. So that's how you could do that. Okay. Now, hopefully this tutorial gave you a clear understanding of how Excel takes your data and inserts your column chart, and how it determines what orders a column are, how it determines the automatic plotting, and a good explanation of the number of columns too, how it adds to your data. Hopefully, again, this gave you a better, clear understanding of how this is done. And in future tutorials, I'll work on different types of charts, and we'll go through the same process of how Excel determines how it takes your data and then how it plots it into the chart itself. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by today. You have a great day. Remember to subscribe to my channel. And also, please comment and share this video, because as you do that, this video will get out to more people. And I know there's people out there that work with Excel and want to learn this stuff. So again, I do appreciate you. Thanks again. You have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.